We've finished this much. The Vimalakirti Sutra. We only have this much left.
La tsedan damba kange ndirkji surto chundan de ndirtar armab chungwi tsarndo gya chi jang yangbar jerwa tang kur tamche jang sirji ka tukdo dawan di sir ngate laga chundan de jib kar tsarwa kanga wondo no lutsamba chima me petchaba dang jagru jonna jerwa ni kur mongbu yongsu kur jang dindav darte devjang shobi chungdo gongwar ngarte so Tenil Zambetramami Petro Benjahur John the Kirwalan Turkic Meso Jahur Sem Chimbo Dada Devjan Shabam Tong Jang Chang Sarar Guriki Gova Jaga Jondan Deji Chondon Dong Jahur Me Ba Dong Rigiva Di La Vapra Shinen Dong Tene Rigiva Teti Rigiva Tati Tilava Brasine Teni Lozambachamami Petropa Dortavir Zamtr Mumbrando Shava Mundo Shiba Chertavankur Tamches Sanke Tradam Jede Lagbari Birtan of Jerne Jondan de Kalava Ter Chenbatan de Sala Jacte Jondan de Jalam Go Sham Sarne Jondan de Lan Dundo Kurabshi de Chokchigdo Nduko, Teni Devjin of Shagabar, Pum Choksabi, Santi, Janel, Hope of Shantu Sanwa, Tedagjan, Sanki Televapte, Sanki Televapte, Jondan de Jalam Gu, Sham, Zanep Jondan de la Tarmoja de Sham Sarja, Chokchigdon Kodo, Shantu Sanwa Chimbo Tedagno, Nyantu Tedag Tamchijan, Sanki Tele. Vapte, Jondan de Jalam Gu, Sham Sarnep, Chokchigdon Kodo, Devjin of Gavshandan, Sambadan, Jitan Kyoadan, Liva Tedagjan. Jondan de Jalam Go Sham Sarnep Chokchudon Kordo, the Nip Jondan de Shantusan Watela Chujiktam Yang Gavra Shin and Dirter Chief Gaftar to Rigiva Taranga Sanke Talan Kochon Jondan de Tirki, Gaftar Netedo Koto, the Nip Jondan de Shariva and Dirki, Gaftar to Shariva, Kyoji Semjin Jim Chogo, Shantusan Namgir, Nambram Chalam Tongam. Sorwa Jondan dem Tonalso, Jondan de Givgatsarva, de la Kukin de Shichitaverki, Sorwa Jondan de Dagte, Samji Mechipin de Shitil Laxo, Chester Sambadan, Zaradan, Germany, but Testa, Teta Kipan of Samji Mechipam Ton, Tene Jondan de la Sedan Dambakan Gavin Durkachi Sordo, Jondan de Ngun Nambi Tr Jamardana. Ngun mahnan bi trajimbar danandu ndirtaba si la jondan de jibgatsar gangao shanchu sanwa de ligi warbu kong tamchit ne chushwa yeno shari bir meba sedan damba ganga ko ligi warbu kong tamchit ne jangdar taban chushwa meba jile shong lezamba chama me ber chagba 네 대비정 식bar 뿜축 썩비 상지지 정근 직된지 간 부탐지지 좀 죽네 저제랑데 주소적 탐지지 레렌더 다 주숑 데네츠던 담바건가 울르잠바 쯤마메 버적발란들께지 메소 쯔은도 쯔쯔지 와르드 척버는 게르 메바 쯔쯔드 제 마지비 와르드 고 건가 메바 제데 인 쯔쯔드나 제버는 게르 Meba jig dun chug dun ji jibrin girti, Deneyang jig dunni vart dang jibrin girto, Majibig nopper yang mangirto, Zumba gun dang jibrin gir, Majibig nopper yang mangirto. Zumba gangavo tedag, Gerlong tedag, Nibber the la magic be zend zona tedag nibber the jigna tin jibrin giro. Nibalam, Jibate, Zen the Jazin the Zuba Teta, Sim Yons Madru, Varta Manjogo, Simjim Shanchip Sim Kim Shanchip the Sim Market, Bakangate, Zuba Teta, Shanchip the Sim Kidna, Danger in Euro. Shanchip the Sim Kibakanga Z Zuba Teta, Zotba Matupi Varta Manjogo. Zoba Tobakanga Zuba Te, Tiachiga, Tobana and Jever in Euro. Zamba Kanga on the Tati, where man of Lorden Jivshava, Tursona, Tick Tamchit Maper, Matir Givar the Manchester, Manti, Shin Jever in Euro. Division dot Zamba Kanga on Yomoba Tamchit G, Tick Maper, Matir Givar the Zet in Jever Manjerte, Zeti, she, Dot and Jever in Euro.今天我们讲维摩诘经啊，在这个之
Today
前
we'll have the class on the Vimalakirti Sutra. But before the class on this, I would like to first give a brief explanation on the supplication. What time do we chant it tomorrow? Because we're going to chant this tomorrow, so I would like to give a brief explanation on it. It starts at 7 a.m. and because of that, the morning classes over here in different classes are cancelled since we have a short Dharma assembly. And this particular supplication is composed by Mipa Rinpoche, the prayer which is the source of all true realization. So I would give
Seshun Meshar, Munda, Marshuk Gaga, Tambu, Nishirlan, Jafar Dorji, Yinsolir Dorwago, Rangatism Gandin, Donchai, Nyambondon, Dashar Nino, Duck, Shind of Gaki, Dungur and Damle, Tar, Gale of Tagba, Tambi, Mutup Tover, Flanchendum Bum Donna, some ransom Garmet, some per Thunjum John, Gale.
So this was the oral transmission, and I would like to give you a short explanation in terms of its context. Do we have it on the PowerPoint? And
Satan Yetan Charmo Shir Ve Chole Nam Ger Ungutu Storchu Maratsame Suha Dinchiki in Jigbar Kyosher Ringzen Jigme Lambe so
that was the oral transmission.
Jibson Tare Lamo, Tataraji Donga Gun, Tiji Togmet, Tari Huarmo, Dagla, Jumshu, Surji, Suha, German, Yachik, Sarngama, Tari, Tatari, Tari, Suha.
That was the light Tara mantra, light Tara sadhana.
Shanship Sanhua Sanhua Chimbom, Papa Shannon, the one Chila Shamsa. Chudur Gyasum Chiu, Shanship Sanhua Sanhua Chimbom, Papa Shannon, the one Chila Shamsalum, Chudur Gyasum Chiu.
as well as the mantra. So simply, I will then give the explanation on the prayer, which is the source of all true realization. Within this short prayer, it has the 8 manifestation of Guru Rinpoche. In the biography of Padmasambhava, it has the 8 kinds of Padmasambhava that's manifested, which then benefits all sentient beings. So the first sentence says that to the 8 manifestations of Guru Rinpoche. And the second sentence says the 8 great accomplished Vidyadharas, such as I think it includes also Nagarjuna, as well as Chenrezig and Manjushri and so on. Those are the 8 bodhisattvas. Then the 8 Harukas, such as Yamataka, Hayagriva, and Vajrakilaya, as well as some world protector, the wrathful form of protectors. So supplicate to all of them so that they will dispel all the obstacles of outer, inner, and secret obstacles. I think that this text was composed in the fire phoenix year. And then at the end, it talks about the merit of practicing this prayer at 3 times. It was composed in the Firebird year, so if you practice this in the 3 times, the morning, noon, and the evening, it could dispel all the obstacles. And at the time when Mipa Rinpoche encountered some obstacles, and after this verse came manifested into his mind, lots of obstacles just naturally dispelled for him. Of course, for him who is an enlightened being, he doesn't have any solid afflictions or suffering, but this is the manifestation of him. When Pontsuk Rinpoche was still with us, personally as well as in a group, we usually chant this very often. The best thing to do is to chant it for 100,000 times. I don't really have enough time to chant the whole, finish chanting 100,000 times, so sometimes I would ask the Sangha to chant it for me. Anyhow, I really think it's quite important to chant this. So I want to just briefly talk about this because tomorrow we will practice on that. We'll have a whole day practice on this prayer. And now let's move on to the Vimalakirti Sutra. And now we are on the chapter 11. The title of Tibetan version and Sanskrit version are a bit different than the ones of the translation of Kumarajiva and the Tang Dynasty's translation. The title that they translated is the action of the Bodhisattva, but according to the Tibetan and the Sanskrit version, it is the lessons of the destructible and indestructible. So in this chapter, it talks about the Bodhisattva's actions, and previously it was mostly their
这一品跟
practices.
前面的一些结构呢就不同的，因为这一品的话呢，
And this
就
chapter
这
has
些维摩诘居
rather
士也好，当时菩萨
different
都亲自见到了这个佛陀。我们在这个之前的话呢，
is rather different than the previous ones, because in this chapter, then
然后佛陀呢就来派遣
Vimalakirti
他的
and
这个佛陀
the
跟
Bodhisattvas actually
维摩
went
诘
to
居
see
士
the
呢
Buddha.
基本上没有这个相应，就是所以在这一品当中
At
的
first,
话呢，
Vimalakirti
维
then
摩诘居士的病也稍微有好转
manifested
然
as
后
ill
他呢就
and
一
stayed
方面
on,
就是感
on
谢
his
这
sick
个佛陀
bed.
那么多
And
人来
then
看病，一方面就是也
now
是
he's
依靠
feeling
这种
better.
因缘呢，度
He
化了这个
now
无量的
brings
众生。
the
所以呢，
Bodhisattvas
现在
to
那
the
个
Buddha to see the Buddha,
维
and
摩诘
because
居
of
士呢已经
such
出现了，就是然后呢，回到这个佛陀的身边，就是所以这个
because of such
这个故
coincidence,
事的
then
话呢，要
he
接近无声。
then manifests. He then liberates and
有些
benefits
这个
innumerable beings.
这个
So now he's out
学
of
者就是这样子
his
说
sick
嘛
bed,
就是
and now
我
he
们的
sees
前
the
面
Buddha.
这个视频的话呢，实际上是最高潮的、最精彩的地方，就是然后现在的话呢，就维摩诘
Some
居士
scholars
就
would
开始
say that the first 10 chapters are rather the most interesting, and from now on it is when Vimalakirti then meets the Buddha. So why is it talked in such a way? According to Master Jizang, he says that Vimalakirti now sees the Buddha due to the following 5 reasons. The first reason is that all sutras need to be approved by the Buddha. So that's the first reason. The Buddha needs to prove that this is a sutra that's taught by the Buddha. And the second reason is that because at this time the Buddha was at the garden of Amrapali, and in this garden of Amrapali, there are still many sentient beings who then have great connection to the Buddha and the Buddha Dharma. Therefore, it is important for all the bodhisattvas to come to the garden of Amrapali so that they will be then led to liberation and be benefited through the Buddha's teaching. And then the third reason is that the bodhisattvas, they came to this Saha world because they want to see the Buddha as well as Vimalakirti. And now since they've already seen Vimalakirti, now they are going to see the Buddha. So that's the third reason. Vimalakirti now brings all the bodhisattvas to see the Buddha. And the fourth reason is that the bodhisattvas who are around Vimalakirti at that time, they want to practice more Buddha activities. The more extensive and more numbers of sentient beings are at the garden of Amrapali. Therefore, the bodhisattvas want to go there and practice their Buddha activity and make auspicious connections to them. And the fifth one is that this is a manifestation of the autonomous power of Vimalakirti. Many Shravakas who do not have great faith in Mahayana, now they will develop great faith in Mahayana because of Vimalakirti's numerous powers. So in this chapter, the chapter 11, in the action of bodhisattvas, all of these above would be then discussed more in detail. So, it says then, meanwhile the Buddha had been explaining the Dharma in the gardens of Amrapali. If you remember, at the beginning of the sutra, it says that the Buddha is teaching in the garden of Amrapali, which is a quite important place of teaching. And then all of a sudden, the land was suddenly expanded and it became ornamented, and the entire assembly became gold in color. So at that time, originally, of course, the place where the Buddha taught would be already very much ornamented and very expansive in terms of the space, but at that time it got even more expanded. Some of the commentary stated that the place where the Dharma was expounded by the Buddha, well, we have only 1 hour of class, and I really hope for people who don't have some special event, you'd better just try to abide and stay here. Usually when we have class, I think the people who live here and very much accustomed to listen to the class, they know that they shouldn't walk around, but maybe you're a tourist, and so that's why you're walking around. Maybe it is the best for you not to listen at the beginning to start with. It is the best not to walk around during the class. If you have to go, then you can raise up your hand, and then I'll ask you, what is it? And then you can tell me I have something important. And if it's really important, then I'll agree and you can go. But maybe in summer we have more tourists, and that's why it's a little bit hard to avoid. So all of a sudden, the place then got expanded and then became ornamented. And then the entire assembly all of a sudden also became gold in color. Originally, the Buddha has the disciples who are already ornamented and the disciples who are tinged with gold, such as the golden ornamented bhikshu. But at that moment, the entire assembly all became golden color. And Ananda was the attendant of the Buddha. He can't really go to other places. If the attendant goes around and leave the person whomsoever they're attending, they cannot be an attendant anymore. Unlike people nowadays who would advertise themselves as attendants, although they are not. Anyway, Ananda was the attendant of the Buddha at that time, so he didn't go to see Vimalakirti. He was beside the Buddha and attending him, and then Ananda over there asked the Buddha, saying that, "World-honored one, due to what causes and conditions are there these propitious responses?" This place has suddenly expanded and became ornamented, and the entire assembly has become gold in color. Normally, that's something that's very difficult to imagine. So at that time, then Buddha told Ananda, saying that this is because Vimalakirti and Manjushri, together with a great congregation that surrounded and revered them, will decide they want to come here. That is why now this land has then transformed into this ornamented, expansive place, and everyone in this assembly all become gold in color. I think according to Master Chi's commentary, he says that why does all these auspicious signs appear? It is also because of the blessings of Vimalakirti, because the sentient beings who then are the object of liberation, or the ones that are going to be liberated or benefited by Vimalakirti, they are then blessed by Vimalakirti. So at that moment, there was this auspicious signs that happening at the place, at the congregation, at the place where the Buddha was teaching. Although Vimalakirti has not arrived yet, but because of his blessing, at that moment, everything has already transformed. And according to Master Jizang, he then explained in such a way, saying that the place became ornamented and expanded because they were ready to receive the guests. And everyone in the assembly, their body, their color has also become tinged in gold. It is because they are going to see the special guests of Bodhisattva, just as whenever we are going to get ready to receive the leaders, the heads of states and so on, then we usually would just clean our floor, we clean our rooms, and whenever those people would go to schools, then the principal would ask the students to go and sweep the floors and so on, every day even. But they wait for days and days. The leaders or the authorities wouldn't come and inspect the place, and such a disappointment in such a way. Of course, at that moment, Of course, the schools won't receive great guests as the bodhisattvas or the great numbers of bodhisattvas, but that's what happened at Amrapali, the garden of Amrapali, and at the great assembly. So they were all preparing to meet the great guests. From the worldly point of view, Master Jizang's explanation is easier to understand, because that's how we, the worldly people, would do in preparation of meeting really important guests. Just as when Ponsu Rinpoche, when he goes out, at that time, it was very difficult to commute. During that time, we then would keep waiting. We don't really know when Ponsu Rinpoche would then come back. So we would sweep the floor, we would clean every place and waiting for Ponsu Rinpoche to return. That's what happened at the very early stage. But later on, the commute and telecommunication became more convenient, and it was easier to know when he would be arriving. Anyhow, before they actually arrive, the Buddhist assembly as well as the garden of Amrapali are already transformed. And then, just then, Vimalakirti said to Manjushri, saying that we should go together to see the Buddha, to revere him and make offering along with the bodhisattvas. According to the according to the treatise on great perfection of wisdom, it says that for bodhisattvas never weary of wishing to see the Buddha's presence, hearing the Buddha Dharma, and meeting with the Sangha of bodhisattvas. But what is it that they're weary of then? They're weary of all kinds of worldly affairs. in Treatise of the Great Perfection of Wisdom, it stated that when bodhisattvas sees the Buddha, they all have great longing to see the Buddha. Not even the bodhisattvas. When worldly people, whenever they are going to see their guru, their teacher, their acharya, they also have great devotion and they also have great longing. From the point of view of history, in fact, at that time, Shakyamuni Buddha, during his presence in this world, people who, in fact, never really even met him during his time, there are a great number of people who never really met him, even in the city of Vaishali. In Vaishali, it is said that they had 900 million homes. Maybe the number at that time is probably different than how we calculate or how we describe the numbers as of now. And at that time, only 300 million people ever met the Buddha in Vaishali, in the city of Vaishali, and only about 300 million people heard the voice of the name of the Buddha. And there were 300 million people who never even met or heard the name of the Buddha. Maybe the number is a bit, is a bit hard to accept as the real number because even the whole population of India is something that's close to this number. Anyhow, it just shows that in the city of Vaishali, there were about 1/3 of people have met the Buddha, 1/3 of the people who only heard the name of the Buddha, and 1/3 of people never even seen or heard the name of him. When I went to the archaeologist site of Vaishali, I was really surprised to see how small that place was. But anyhow, just in such a small city, there were people who never even met the Buddha. It's very difficult to fathom, and it is all due to the different karmas of sentient beings. Similarly, some great masters, some great gurus were never even were not even heard of by people that were around them. It is for the same reason, just as people from Lhasa, they never went to the Jorkon and seen the great Jowo Buddha statue. I saw a few of those Lhasa women came to see me, and they probably have seen the Jowo statue. Anyway, back at that time in India, there were very small countries around, and the city of Vaishali, although it was considered as a big city back then, it was really small still. So I really think that for people who then consider themselves as really great, really wonderful, how could other people do not respect me, do not revere me, do not know me even? Well, don't think in such a way, because let's think about the Buddha. The Buddha was not even seen or heard of in the small city of Vaishali back then. So it is really because of sentient beings' different karmic connections.
接下来呢，就是我们就讲到刚才就是说是这个文殊菩萨呢，就是维摩诘居士呢，就是说这个文殊菩萨要不要去见见佛陀
Vimalkirti asked the Manjushri, saying that maybe we should revere the Buddha, also make offering along with the bodhisattvas to the Buddha. And then Manjushri said that, excellent, let's go. This is just the right time. This is great.
Very good. 什么 ？Excellent. Let's go. Very good. Let's go. 他说那个就是非常好，我们要去吧，我们要去。
So he said, "Very good, let's
就是
go."
正好这个而且正好的话呢，就是其实
This is just the right
中华
time.
民生的世纪正好
It is the right time to benefit sentient beings.
一
It
直
is
分
the
别
right
啊，去
time
去去。
to propagate the
那可
Dharma.
能这个就像这个诸佛菩萨
This is very different than how we usually then think to ourselves that, oh, according to my opinion, then I think this is the best time to go. But this is based on the observation of the Bodhisattva. And Manjushri then said, this is the right time. This is the time that all conditions are now matured.
就包括他们的这个四字座啊，就是全部都什么呢？
So Vimalakirti, using his numinous power, lifted the great congregation together with the lion seats in his right hand and proceeded to where the Buddha was. And very soon, with his numinous power, he then arrived there and he placed them on the ground.
捐数是那么多啊，就是捐数。
Do you remember how many people were there at that time? There was the great assembly of bodhisattvas and different Shravakas.
记述
Right?
当中就是讲那个当时
So that's quite
这个
rare.
的数量呢，就是没有变大，就是那些
In
捐
some
数
commentaries, it also said
变
that
少就
the
像弥勒日巴的这个就弥勒日巴
size of the palm of Vimalakirti did not enlarge and the whole congregation did not shrink either, just as how the yak horn of Milarepa did not change and the
现象也是有可能的，比如说我们的这个善
and
和大地有时候在
no one else and Milarepa's body did not shrink either, just as
也没有变大，就是然后外面的这个世界呢，
when we use a mirror to reflect
但是
the
一会儿这种
just as when we use the mirror to reflect the world did not shrink, but it reflects in the mirror.
八大菩萨传里面不是有些
According to the 8 Bodhisattvas biography, when it talks about the merits of Bodhisattvas, it says that just as Bodhisattvas then place all the sentient beings on an atom and then circumambulating all sentient beings, but none of the sentient beings realized that they've been placed in a single atom. Even they were circumambulated around the 3,000-fold world. So that's the numinous power that we cannot fathom. And at that time, Vimalakirti then put all the bodhisattvas from Saha world as well as the fragrance accumulation, Pure Land, and different disciples of the Buddha in his right hand, and when they arrived, he placed all of them on the floor. And the bodhisattvas, he then, after he arrived, he bowed his head to Buddha's feet, then circumambulated him 7 times, holding his palms together single-mindedly, and he stood there one side. Unlike how nowadays people have karsik, the bodhisattvas did not feel that way at all. The bodhisattva who traveled in such a way on the palm of Vimalakirti did not get karsik. And the Bodhisattva and Vimalakirti at that time placed all the seeds, as the lion seeds, as well as the Bodhisattvas together to fly to the Buddha in the garden of Amrapali. After Vimalakirti circumambulated and holding his palm together, the Bodhisattvas also left their seats and bowed their heads to the Buddha's feet, then circumambulated 7 times. So, which were 8,000 bodhisattvas, and the bodhisattvas coming from
中向尘来是多少？不用翻了，翻的话我也会翻了，算了。
How many from the pure, from the fragrance accumulation? pure land. I can flip as well. You don't have to flip for the numbers. Anyways, there were many bodhisattvas and great disciples, chakras, Brahmas, 4 heavenly kings, and so on. This is also included in the Tibetan text. So all of them also left their seats to bow their heads to the Buddha's feet and then stood on one side. At that time in India, when a guest arrived, they would then first then revere and respect to the Buddha, and then stay on one side before and not really sitting, take a seat before the host would give them seats or ask them to sit down. So same custom was placed in ancient China as well. And then the world-honored one, according to custom, requested that the bodhisattvas all sit at once. That time, the world-honored one probably also then inquire about how they're feeling, how was the numinous power of Vimalakirti, did it make them uncomfortable, and so on. Anyhow, and then they all followed these instructions, and then the congregation sat and became settled. The world-honored one saying that, oh, just sit down, take your own seats. So at that time, all the bodhisattvas as well, the disciples, they all then followed the instructions and sat down and became settled. At that time, then, Buddha said to Shariputra, because Shariputra was the one who went to see Vimalakirti. So Shariputra then took the vehicle of the numinous power of Vimalakirti and came back to the Buddha. So out of the intention of inquiring of Shariputra's devotion, then he asked Shariputra, saying that, have you then seen what this bodhisattva, this great being, have done with his autonomous numinous power? Have you then experienced this? And then Shariputra answered, saying that, yes, I have seen. Yes, world-honored one, I am so very happy that I've seen this. And also I came back together with Vimalakirti. I think maybe Shariputra at that moment likes Vimalakirti more than the world-honored one. And the Buddha said that, how do you think? What do you think about it? How do you feel about his numinous power then? And then Shariputra answered, saying that, world-honored one, I look upon what has been done as inconceivable. It is something that my mind cannot figure out and which my power cannot even estimate. This is something that I cannot fathom. Someone like Shravakas can fathom. This is not like that. So inconceivable over here talks about how, as mundane beings, we cannot fathom such numinous power of Vimalakirti. And it is not something that my mind cannot figure out and in which my powers cannot even estimate. So over here, it then says about how the Shravakas cannot estimate, cannot fathom. So at that moment, then Shariputra replied in such a way to the Buddha. And then Ananda addressed the Buddha. At that time, Ananda then asked the Buddha, saying that, "World-honored one, the fragrance I smell now is the kind of fragrance I have never experienced before. So what kind of fragrance is it?" Ananda sometimes, I think he's quite funny at that moment. He, at that time, was grasping towards the fragrance. He was thinking, wow, this is so fragrant. If this is a movie, then I think Ananda would be quite a comic relief character, because at that time he felt that there's something that smells very fragrant. And then the Buddha told Ananda, saying that this is the fragrance from the pores of those bodhisattvas. Then Shariputra told Ananda, Shariputra and Ananda, they're both Shravakas. And then Shariputra was very proud at that moment. He told Ananda, saying that our pores are also emitting this fragrance. It's very funny. Because the Buddha said that this is from the pores of the bodhisattvas. And Shariputra, as a Shravaka, then he also said our pores are also emitting this fragrance. Because Ananda did not go to take to see Vimalakirti nor take the food from the fragrance accumulation Pure Land. And Shariputra did. So he was saying that. So he does. He has that too. And then Ananda continued to ask, so where does it come from? In fact, then Shariputra said, this elder, Vimalakirti, brought the leftover meal from the Buddha of a host fragrance country to his house for us to eat. And so all our pores are fragrant like this. So Shariputra then told the whole story of how they had the meal, where they had the meal. In fact, it was Vimalakirti who manifested as this conjured bodhisattva. And then went there to the Pure Land to get the meal, and then came back, and the whole story. Right? Then Ananda continued to ask Vimalakirti, saying, how long will this fragrance last? Vimalakirti then said that until the food is digested. He then said that until the food is digested, and then Ananda continued to ask, saying that, so when will the food be digested? He's then asking, when is this meal going to be digested then? Is it that after the meal being digested, the fragrance will be disappeared then? Then Vimalakirti answered, saying that the energy of this food will be digested after 7 days. In some edition of translation says it's 7 times 7, which is 49 days. In Tibetan version it says 47 times 7, which is 49 days. And in the Tong's translated version it says that it's 7 days and 7 nights. And in Kumar Jiva's version, it says that it's 7 days. Kumar Jiva said that there's this kind of a snake that is the snake that will the snake, the poison will. The poison of the snake will be fatal for a person after within 7 steps. Once a person is bitten by such a snake. So that is the 7
那么这个菩萨的心也没有发过，凡夫波底
how is
只有
related
这
to
个吃
7.
了7天以后，就是7天就身体都是相的，就之后呢就没有了。就是那个
So then he said, also another, if a Shravaka who has not yet entered the primary state of Hinayana enlightenment eats this food, it will only be digested after he enters the primary state. Just as nowadays, unlike nowadays, there's some fragrance, some perfume. They do not even last for 7 minutes. Don't even mention 7 days. So the Vimalkirti over here says that a mundane being whomsoever eat this meal, they will lose this fragrance after 7 days. Not sure if there were some mundane beings who's not a Shravaka nor have any enlightenment. If they were there at the place listening to this teaching or had this meal, and then it says that the Shravaka who has not entered the primary stage of Hinayana enlightenment eat this food, it will only be digested after he enters the primary state. The primary state as the Arhat. If a Shravaka, or the second one is someone who has already entered the primary state, which is the path of seeing this food, it will only be digested after his mind is emancipated. According to Tang's translation, it actually has another one which says that someone who has attained the fruition of non-returning, but that's a different translation, a different version. Anyway.
如果声闻未入道的食用此饭呢，得入正味，然后消受，然后一入道者呢，就是食此饭者，就是心得戒土，心得戒土一般得到这个无学道，就是也就是阿罗汉，然后呢才消受。这是这个小乘的这个果位，就是有分2个方面，按照我们这个这个
the fruition of Hinayana enlightenment.
然后大乘的话呢，就是如果还没有发现大乘以后，如果吃了这个饭呢，那么来自他的这个发愿意识没有消失之前呢，如果一直到发菩提心之前的话呢，就不消失。一旦发了这个菩提心之后的话呢，就消化就是可以这个消失。
The person whomsoever give rise or generate the mind of bodhicitta, the ultimate bodhicitta, which means it's the first blooming. This is according to the Madhyamika Kakara. So the person who have not generated this intention of bodhicitta eat this food will not be digested until this person then attains the first blooming. And then the fragrance will be disappeared. If someone who has already generated bodhicitta eats this food, it will only be digested after he has attained forbearance of birthlessness of Dharma, which means it's the 8th blooming.
然后已经得了这个无生法忍，就是得八地菩萨的一个菩萨，就如果适用了这个饭的话呢，那么就是最后呢就是到实地，就是一次
which means if someone already attained forbearance of non-arising of Dharma eats the food,
这个时候呢就是仍然可以这个消失。
It will only be digested after he has reached his penultimate birth, which is just like Maitreya Bodhisattva.
相通吧，就是所以呢，就是这个也是比较这个相通的。
所以就没有单独的解释的话呢，也应该是
no
可以
other
的。然后这个呢，就是
the Tong's version had been another one that's very
有
similar
一
to
种药，
it.
就是它的这个
So
名
I'm
字
not
呢
going to
就是叫
explain
做是上位
more on
如
it.
果有人呢就是
The
服用的
next
话
one
呢
is that，
那
there
这个
is
身上的这个度呢，
as
全部都会
if there were a medicine called superior flavor
灭
that
尽
is
这个
digested
没有了
only after
然后
the
呢就是
poison
才开始这个
in the body of the
开始
person
这个
who
药呢
takes
就是
it have
它的
been
这个药上呢
eliminated.
就是在这个消失，就是如果这个身上的度没有灭尽之前的话呢，一直在这个身上就是不断的就是消度，就是不会就是中间就消失。那么吃饭也
So
是
the
一样的
medicine will，
任
not
何一个人呢，如
the
果吃
medicine
了
will only
像
be
这个
digested
这个
after
很像
all
这
the
个
poisons
饭
in
啊
this body of the
就
person.
然后呢，就是没有灭除
Also
烦
like
恼的
this,
度
the
之
food
前的话呢，就是
eliminates
它
all
一
the
直是不
poisons
消
of
失的。然后
afflictions, and
就是
then
你
it's
看刚才的
digested. I,
有嘛，就是不
how I
同的
wish
这个
we
程
had
度，
the
凡是
food
它
like
肯定
this.
会起作用的。然后我是没有入
So
道的人呢，
in
就是一直
different
到入道
ways,
的
this
才消失
medicine
如果
will
入道之后
take
呢，就是它一直
will
这个
have different
在这
effects.
个经部啊，就是一直
Will
经过，
definitely
最后呢
have
就是
some
到了一定的
effects.
这个位置之后才消失的。所以
You
呢，这
have
个灭除
to
一切
make
的这种烦恼
progression
的
so
度啊
that
然后呢
the
就是才可以
effect of this
消
fragrance
失啊
will then
才可以消
disappear,
失。所以有
will be
些
eliminated.
好像是那个应该引用呢，这个有些注释当中引用呢一
In
些
some commentary,
八字功用还是什么里面的一些
then
教章啊，就是意思就是说呢
quoted
就是有
from
一些菩萨
a
的
treatise
话
of
呢，
great
就是有一
perfection
种
of
作报
wisdom,
啊，就是作报。它的
where
这个
it
作
says
报观
that
的话
some
呢，就是实际上
bodhisattvas they
照见
have
发性的这种光芒，就是。那么
they
这个菩萨
have
的话
this
呢，
crown
只要
that's
这
full
个
of
引用
jewels.
它的
That
话呢，
is
就
the
是能
jewel
照见
crown.
护法的。
Once
那
they
么同
wear
样
it,
的
they can，
如果
see
我们
the
会
truth of
适
all
用这
dharma.
种事物的话呢，那么就是
So
在相续当中，就是一定会是产生这个智慧，
Likewise,
吹灭这个
when
一切
people
烦
take
恼。
this
而
food,
且所
they
有的这些
will
实
naturally
践的这个疾
then
病也好，痛苦也好，就是饥荒也好，全部都会
eliminate
这个
their
消失
afflictions.
所以这种这
And
个
all
疾
the
病呢，就是
suffering,
这种
afflictions,
药
and the
呢，就是也是
poison
非常
and
这个
hunger will all be
殊胜的啊。
eliminated. So
当
this
然
is
我们
quite
有
a
些这里
supreme.
面的所讲到的这个7日的这种食物啊，就
The
这些讲
food
起
that
来
lasts
是
for 7 days, that it sounds
非常
very
就不可思议的一种力量。
inconceivable.
实际上呢，我们在这个人世间的话呢，有时候
In
确
fact,
实
in our
你
world,
不得不承认，就是有很多
you have to
不一
say
样的
that
东西
there are lots of
就是
inconceivable
现在这个
things
社会呢
that
应该
that happens
某些
around.
程度上面看的话呢，
In some ways, our society seems to be quite advanced and developed,
我们这个世界呢，就是还是
where we have a great technology, great
痛苦就是不断的
vehicles and so on. But on the other hand, there are also people who suffer from hunger. Just as last year, 2018, the WHO posted this report saying that around the world there are 212 million people are suffering from starvation. Just imagine around the 7 billion people around the world, there are 812 million people suffering from starvation.
所以我们可能如果这样的话呢，基本上是就是
Which means
你看一下那个，就是现在这个8点多亿的人当中，就是有面临着这样饥荒的话呢，有时候我们的这个生存呢，还是并不是我们想象的那样世界。虽然我们在
to
人世
survive in
间，
this
但是人世
world,
间的
to
这
live
个
in
本
this
来的
world
一
is
些
very
或者
different
正
than
常的话呢，
how we
我们
imagined.
也没有发现。
There are
还有一些报道
812
当中
million
呢，
people
就是说
suffering from
是
starvation.
现
Can
在
you
的这
even
个包括这个
imagine that?
中年人以上的话呢，
And then, on the other hand, on contrary, there are about 1 out of 8 people suffering from obesity, especially in some Western world. Western society, obesity is one of the biggest problem happening over there. 1 out of 8 or 9 people, they have obesity.
人类这个历史上来讲呢，就前所未有的，因为前所未有的很多，一个是什么呢？就比如说这个肥胖也好。
This is unprecedented in
还有呢，
history.
就是其他的，就是各种各样的
The
这种心理
starvation as well as
还有呢，就是
obesity
亚健
never
康
really happened before in
还有
human
呢，我
history.
们的这
And
个
lots
很多
of
人的话呢，就是实际
the
上饮食带来的就是各种各样的这种
illness that comes with food, or rather the lack of healthy food. People who die or suffer from cancer from a young age, or suffering from sudden death. Nowadays, the food security is a big problem. Food safety is a big problem. What we used to call food nowadays are food product. What is food product? It is produced rather than the produce. Lots of companies, they purposely add more oil and more chemicals that would attract the customers to buy. But they are not natural produce, rather they're products. And once these kind of food products are getting into the human body, not only those kind of so-called food did not nourish the body, it in fact brings lots of harm to the body. So on one hand, yes, human beings are quite smart in terms of livelihood, how to create products, and so on. But on the other hand, well, it's very different. So I really hope that everyone could protect your own health.
大家好像不知道什么原因，就全世界的人这个肥胖是还是跟以前不相同的。
Worldwide, the obesity problem is getting more common. Not sure why. Some Westerners that I've seen on train or on airplane, one person could occupy the seat of many. It's quite a big problem. When I went to Africa, I noticed that the people over there, they are really overweight. They have problem even walking. I think once I went to South Africa, I met a person that is really big. I don't want to get into it too much in terms of describing, but I think nowadays different things happen in this world, different phenomena that happens in this world. For people who never really get out to the real society, real world, they cannot even imagine such things happen. Lots of pressure in terms of mental health as well as physical health. And people have different sufferings. Different problems that we're facing nowadays. I personally think to face all different kinds of problems, we should all keep calm. As Nagarjuna said that before things happen, we should be prepared for problems, and when problems really do occur, then we should face such a problem with calmness. Because at that moment, having fear really wouldn't solve any problem anyway. This is just something that came into my mind. Now let's dedicate the merit.